Hello, everyone, and welcome to the BRCVR Philosophical Center. I am Athena Demos, the co-founder of Big Rock Creative, who produced BRCVR. And we're gathered in that space, surrounded by the principles of Burning Man, to discuss how to bring them into the metaverse. The principles of Burning Man are the foundational fabric for creative collaboration within our community. They were written by Larry Harvey, the founder of Burning Man, and he wrote them not as a precedent or a mandate. He wrote them as a description of what he already saw the community doing, our behaviors when we are at our best. Caveat Magister, one of the founders of the Burning Man Philosophical Center, said the principles help us humanize one another, form community, and generate new art and expression. What it means to burn. So we can all feel the excitement of the metaverse as it bubbles up into existence before our eyes. What is the metaverse? That's a really good question. There's been a lot of interesting articles written recently. But let's go back to its origin. Neil Stephenson coined the phrase metaverse in his 1992 novel Snow Crash, where he also, by the way, coined the phrase avatar. Stories like The Matrix and Ready Player One talk about a dystopian future where we are either unknowingly trapped inside of a metaverse or escaping into one. Now, my hope is that we are able to achieve the metaverse without the dystopian future. So as we blissfully go into the metaverse on glittery rainbows, let us keep one foot firmly connected to our glorious planet and take care of her precious beauty and nutritious gifts. This is actually me at Iguazu Falls. Once I took that picture with me in the rainbow, everyone started lining up and trying to do the same thing. It was so much fun. But I still haven't answered, what is the metaverse? What is it really? Well, there's one great quote that I really like. It's that the metaverse is a vision that spans many countries, many companies, the whole industry. You can think about it as the successor to the mobile internet. And it's certainly not something that any one company is going to build. Does anybody know who said that? That's right. Mark Zuckerberg. Everyone thinks he thinks that he's going to build the metaverse, and yet even he knows it comes from all of us. So people have said to me that what we built with BRCVR was like a metaverse. In my mind, Burning Man has always been a type of physical metaverse. You have the big playa and all the little individual camps, every little theme camp, art installation, an art car. You go into an experience, you have that experience, you come back to the dust, you go into another experience, and you share it with those people. This, by the way, is BRCVR. It looks just like the physical Burning Man, but is actually the digital. Now, BRCVR and Burning Man was organically formed with the help of a little foundational organization and a lot of creative community involvement. This is the BRCVR team at Burn Night. And you can see in the upper corner, there's avatars in front of a screen, and on the screen are actually fire spinners right before the man burns doing the ceremony. So it's us watching avatars, watching physical beings doing the ceremony before the burn. And all of us are in different instances from the burn, so making sure that each one of the instances is functioning. That's pretty meta as far as I'm concerned. So the metaverse is truly a promise. It's a promise of a technological future we all belong to as a community connected together. There is no universally accepted definition for the metaverse. There was no definition for the internet. ultimately became at its beginnings. So maybe we're asking the wrong question. It's not what is the universe, but how is the metaverse created? So all we can do is agree with intention to a set of attributes we hope will exist in the end and work towards that. Much like the principles of Burning Man are the foundational fabric that provide an inspiring place for communities to thrive on.
I think we have to start from principles, right? Most of the industry goes wrong when companies focus just on their interests and don't think about the full reciprocity of how do I want this to work as a consumer? How do I want this to work as Epic? How do I want this to work as a partner of Epic or a participant in this new medium? I think we have to look at it from all perspectives and lay out basic foundational principles as opposed to just doing. I think the popular thing now for tech companies is to just do whatever that you think you can get away with. And that doesn't really cut it.
Thank you, Tim. Could not have said it better myself. It doesn't cut it. I regularly host discussions on the principles of Burning Man in Los Angeles, at the Black Rock City, and now in VR as we are doing here. And in those discussions, we talk about how we can bring the principles of Burning Man into our lives and now into the metaverse. So how many people have been to Burning Man? Send up some emojis. Or a regional event. I used to produce the Los Angeles Decompression Festival. I did that for 15 years, bringing burners and communities together. You probably know someone who considers themselves a burner, and they burn in their lives. Or maybe your social media feed gets really quiet for a couple weeks the end of August, only to flood with pictures from the desert in September. Interestingly, as I was researching materials for this talk, I came across something seemingly familiar, but presented in a whole new way. I found Matthew Ball. Now, Matthew Ball is a prolific writer who has been writing about the metaverse since 2012. He has bylines in publications such as New York Times, Wall Street Journal, The Atlantic, Washington Post, CNN, and the list goes on and on. And he wrote about the framework for the metaverse and its attributes. Matthew Ball outlined 7 core attributes to describe the metaverse, not define it. Much like the principles of Burning Man, describe what it means to be a burner, but doesn't define us. He started with, so here are our principles of Burning Man. Now I'm going to show you how his core attributes align with the principles of Burning Man. The first one Matthew laid out was that the metaverse is going to be persistent. Now that means that it will never reset or pause or end, that it just continues indefinitely. The metaverse needs to be persistent so the community can participate in it. So that much like where we are right now, you can come to the platform and there's always something going on. And when you leave, it didn't stop at that point when you left. Life continues on. He also said that it must be synchronous and live. So even though there are pre-scheduled events, self-contained events will happen just as they do in the physical world, the metaverse will be a living experience that exists consistently for everyone in real time. I think you can all figure out exactly where that lines up, because that lines up with the principle of immediacy. And immediacy says that immediate experience is in many ways the most important touchstone of value in our culture. It's our be here now. The next one he laid out was that it should be without any cap to concurrent users, while also providing each user with an individual sense of presence, that everyone can be a part of the metaverse and participate in a specific event or place or activity. together, a shared experience at the same time, but with individual agency. I do believe that that matches up perfectly with radical inclusion. Now, radical inclusion says that anyone can be a part of our community and we welcome and respect the stranger. There are no prerequisites that exist for participation in this community. Now, there we go. Now, the next two actually go together because we need to have a fully functioning economy. Individuals and businesses will be able to create, own, invest, sell, and be rewarded for an incredibly wide range of work that produces value that is recognized by others. Work that produces value that is recognized by others. Not necessarily a transaction, not necessarily a sponsorship. In Burning Man, we have two in our economy, gifting and decommodification. Now, gifting says that our community is devoted to acts of giving, and the value of a gift is unconditional. Gifting does not contemplate a return or an exchange for something of equal value. And decommodification, which is a confusing word because Larry Harvey made it up, decommodification says that in order to preserve the spirit of gifting, our community seeks to create social environments that are unmediated by commercial sponsorships, transactions, and advertising. We stand ready to protect our culture from such exploitation, and we resist the substitution of consumption for participatory experience. That's a lot of words, but in a nutshell, don't sell your soul for the expectation of reciprocity. We need to have decommodified spaces, spaces that are open and free for us to gather and share ideas. And we need to be able to create technology that allows us to share gifts. We can attach financial remuneration to those gifts later and turn them into transaction, but gifting is the foundation of exchanging a good. Now, the fifth attribute that Matthew laid out was that an experience that spans both digital and physical worlds. That it's private and public networks and experiences, open and closed platforms. So it's not just the digital space. It's also our physical space. It's not just what's on our head or on our computer, but where our physical bodies are too. And that connects directly to leaving no trace. Our community respects the environment, and this experience spans both the digital and the physical worlds, and therefore we need to respect them both. Remember that photo of Iguazu? If we want to maintain our rainbows, we're going to have to take care of this planet as we construct the metaverse and include it. So another aspect that is very important, number 6, is that it offers unprecedented interoperability. Now, this is a popular word right now, way up there with metaverse, interoperability of data, digital assets, items, content, and so on across each of these experiences. Well, that lines up with communal effort. Because in order for there to be interoperability, we all have to work together. Communal effort says that our community values creative cooperation and collaboration. Just make that one word. The metaverse needs all of us to put forth the greatest communal effort and create something with a strong foundational fabric. And the last one, that it be populated by content and experiences created and operated by an incredibly wide range of contributors, some of whom are independent individuals, while others might be informally organized groups or commercially focused enterprises. Well, we have two that go along with that. The principle of radical self-reliance and radical self-expression. Radical self-reliance says that our community encourages the individual to discover and exercise and rely on their own inner resources. We need to create a place where the community is encouraged to be self-reliant, providing them the tools to create. Radical self-expression says that it arises from the unique gifts of the individual and that no other person than the individual or collaborating group can determine its content. It is offered as a gift to others, and in this spirit, the giver should respect the rights and liberties of the recipient. So we can get all that by just providing the tools and the freedom to create. Now, there's one more principle, civic responsibility, and it doesn't connect to the 7 that are already there. And that's because all of this is our civic responsibility to all of humankind who will be participating in the metaverse, the digital and the physical. We can consciously create the metaverse to uplift society, to evolve into humanity. It is the simplest thing, human beings coming together with compassion and kindness for the greater good. And I think the principles of Burning Man make it easier to describe what it means to be a humane being in the metaverse. So what do you think? Does that sound like a pretty cool metaverse to you? So thank you very much. I am thrilled that you came and heard the presentation, and now I would love to hear from you as to what you thought about the attributes and about the principles, and how are we going to weave this fabric and welcome humanity into the metaverse.